call to order the regular meeting of the David Douglas School Board. Please join me in the flag salute.
A custodian moved it on us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Tonight, I'll move this closer because I've been told I don't talk loud enough. Tonight, we are starting out with swearing in newly appointed board members. So, Pat?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Ana Del Rocio,
I, Ana del Rocio,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and the policies of the David Douglas School District.
and the policies of the David Douglas School District.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities
discharge the responsibilities
of the office of school board member
of the office of school board member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. Sahana Saharla, can I have you stand, please? Just stand. You don't have to say anything. You don't want to? Someday.
I, Stephanie Stevens,
I, Stephanie Stevens,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and the policies of the David Douglas School District.
and the policies of the David Douglas School District.
During my term,
During my term,
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities
discharge responsibilities
of the office of school board member
of the office of school board member
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay. Now moving on to every July we do this election of board leadership for the 2017-2018 year. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for nominations for board chair.
I'd like to nominate Christine Larson as board chair.
Are there any other nominations?
Madam Vice Chair, because there's no other nominations, I move that we close the nomination process.
For a second?
Second. I second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So now we move on to a vote. So I have to make the motion?
Well,
That's a little weird.
Unfortunately, Kyle's not here tonight.
Okay.
Someone else to move?
I'd like to move that
Well, it's already been moved,
It's
you've
mo-
noticed, so you
but
just take your vote. All those in
okay,
favor?
all those in favor of the board chair selection, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that one's done. Now we move on to, I'd like to open nominations for the board vice chair. I'll nominate Frida Christopher.
I second it.
Oh, you don't need a second.
Maybe we need a second, that's right.
Are we voting on that one? I'd like to nominate myself for vice chair.
Is there any other nominations?
I move that we close the nomination process.
Second, I guess. Can I do that? All those in favor of closing nominations, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
You have to vote on them individually,
Okay,
is what you do.
so
It doesn't matter which one.
do I have to do a motion, or do I have to just vote?
No, you don't do a motion, you just
Just call
say.
for a vote.
Call for a vote.
Okay, so I guess I'll call for a vote. Does it matter which one I do first? Okay. So I'll call for Andrea. So those in favor of Andrea, say aye.
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 And then those in favor of Frida,
I think
Aye.
I have to abstain.
do you?
We haven't had it before, so.
Okay. And Kyle's not here to break a tie. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's what happened in Portland Public Schools as well.
Okay.
There was no one to break it,
okay.
so.
So what do we do?
We can
Postpone.
postpone it. You can,
We could postpone and check what would it be like a parliamentary procedure for,
I'd need a motion to propose it, to postpone it until the next meeting.
I propose
Is there
that we.
anything that requires the vice chair at this meeting?
no, as long as you have one of them, as long as there's a quorum of the board.
And a chair? Okay.
I propose that we postpone the selection of a vice chair until the next meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Now we're on to visiting delegations and audience input. I don't believe we have any visiting delegations for today,
We,
or do we?
well, we do, but I think we are going to have
Have
them
them
present
present
during an
during-
agenda item.
right.
Yes.
Okay. So the sign-up sheet. Okay, Jamie Kelly and Jalen Kelly. Okay, so just so everybody knows, for tonight, we have a new, or new old, box there. Green light will be on for 2.5 minutes. It goes to the yellow light after 2.5 minutes, and then the red light's supposed to come on when the 3 minutes is up. Okay?
Superintendent Richardson and board members, my name is Jamie Kelly, Jamikely. I'd like to address the board on behalf of my son Jalen, who has been in the special education program in the David Douglas School District for the past 13 years. When I was in high school in the early 1970s at Marshall, kids like Jalen ended up in a room C28, and they were called C28ers. The regular student body rarely saw these kids, and they were feared because they were different. When I gave birth to Jalen almost 19 years ago, with a diagnosis of Down syndrome, that was how I pictured Jalen's life to be, and it sorrowed me greatly. However, through Jalen's elementary and middle school years, I found that times had changed for the better for kids such as Jalen. And there were many more opportunities for inclusion for kids such as he. His teachers and his aides were incredible. And I had hoped that Jalen's life would be filled with opportunity. When Jalen started his high school career here at David Douglas, I have to admit I was disappointed. I was told there was not enough funding to hire the aides necessary to run the special education program as the teacher would like. And in fact, I believe Jalen's teacher left David Douglas because she felt there were safety issues for the kids due to lack of adult support. 2 years ago, my husband and myself addressed this board about this very issue, and some changes were made during Jalen's junior year, and that proved to be a disaster. And it was one of the worst years of Jalen's high school career. But because of this, my husband and myself met with Barb Keenley, did I pronounce it right? To discuss what might be done to improve Jalen's senior year. And I believe we were not alone in those concerns. There were many parents in Jalen's classroom who had those same concerns. And the reason I came to address the board tonight is because changes were made. Annie Harrell was hired to return to the classroom here at the high school. She had been in the transition program. Under her direction, Jalen's senior year was a huge success. And I only wish that all 4 years had been the same for him. Under Annie's direction, enthusiasm, and ability to see her students as people who can do more than one might believe, Jalen thrived. He took a theater class under Mr. Givler and loved it. He was given the opportunity to hand out programs for the Mary Poppins play with Annie's support. He took a ceramics class, and a young lady in that class thought he was nice and asked him to the senior prom. I don't think he would have gone otherwise. And again, Annie supported him. She was there with a couple of her aides at the prom, and he loved it. He had a great time. He took ASL under Mr. Kavanaugh. I saw Jalen one evening using his ASL with another young man who happened to be in his class, giving him an opportunity to interact with someone outside of his regular class or circle of friends and family. I'm going to speak for Jalen now. He's on the sign-up sheet. He participated in track for all 4 years of his high school career. Another thank you to Annie for finding him an aide to support him this past year. And he loved it. The kids on the track team and their parents, as well as kids and parents on the opposing track team, cheered him on at the track meets. Coach Skipper at the track banquet mentioned how Jalen helped make his track team members better people. Jalen has not been a C28er. He has been embraced by the David Douglas community around him, and he's felt loved and important, and he's not feared. My point to all this is that one teacher who sacrificed some of her time, even though she was paid, there's sacrifices made. And the amazing support from the aides that have been surrounding him, Mr. Givler, Mr. Kavanaugh, and his ceramics teacher, and I can't remember her name, made the difference for Jalen this past year. He graduated with a certificate of completion. It took a village to help get him to that point, as it does with every student here at David Douglas. And my hope is that for the other students who follow Jalen, and I understand their numbers coming up are much higher than they were last year, my hope is that they can have the same experience Jalen had this last year. But it will take wonderful teachers such as Annie Harrell with amazing aides, and teachers who are willing to have kids such as Jalen in their classroom, the regular teachers. And it's my hope that there will be some funding available to hire those aides to support these teachers. These kids really do not have a voice, and I would like to be their voice tonight. And I would like to say thank you to the teachers such as Annie Harrell, Mrs. Covez, Ms. Reed, and the aides in the special education program who have supported these kids, as well as the regular education teachers who have allowed Jalen to be in their classroom. Thank you.
Okay. Silky Ackerson.
Members of the board and Superintendent Richardson, my name is Silka Akerson, and I'm a mother in the district, and my son is in, well, he'll be in 5th grade at Ventura Park. And I actually just came to talk about the same thing I came to talk about at the last board meeting, but there was so much else going on, it really didn't get focus, which is I am really formally requesting that the school board prioritize recruiting and hiring and retaining teachers of color. As you know, this school district is about 60% students of color. The breakdown for the district as a whole is about 25% Latino, Latina students, about 15% Asian, 11% Black, 6.7% multiracial. and about 22% of the students in this district have English as a second language. And my son sees himself, our family, our ancestors are European, we're white. My son sees himself reflected back to himself every single day, in every classroom he's ever been in, on TV, in the books that he reads. And many of the students in this district don't have that opportunity. And it makes a really big difference in what our students believe is possible for them, what's possible for them in careers in the future. There's really clear research that shows that having even just one teacher of color makes a difference for students of color. There was a study that came out last year that showed that black students who had just one black teacher in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade decreased the dropout rate in high school by 39%. That's nearly 40%. And they had higher expectations of going to college. The positive effects of black students having one black teacher were observed for 7 to 10 years after that event of only having one black teacher. So we know that we have this very diverse and beautiful population in our school district, but we're doing extremely poorly in diversity of teachers. The school district is 60% students of color. The teachers are 93.45% white. There are so few, I don't actually even know if there is a black teacher because it's such a small portion that it doesn't show up in the percentages. There are 3.51% Latino, Latina teachers, and there are 3.04% Asian teachers. So I'm not just saying this as a point of information, I'm making a really direct request to every single person on the board. I would really like to see the board make a movement and make a plan of what it's going to do to recruit and retain teachers of color. And it's actually a pretty complex situation. There are many school districts recognizing that they need teachers and staff that reflect the students in their schools, and it's pretty competitive trying to recruit and retain teachers of color. I've sent the board, and I haven't sent the new board members, so I can send the resources again, but there are a fair number of studies and resources available about methods for recruiting and retaining teachers of color. But key points are that current teachers of color in the school, if they have central positions in recruitment, that's often more successful. Schools need to demonstrate that they're an inclusive environment engaged in regular conversations and work around equity, which this district has a long way to go in. And there's other recommendations. I know I'm at time. But my direct request is I would love by the next board meeting for the school board to actually present what their first steps are going to be and what their plan is for addressing this, because we're not going to make movement on equity in the school without working on this.
Thank you. Mary Nolan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the school board, Superintendent Richardson, and other directors of the school board, the school district. My name is Mary Nolan. I'm the Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Oregon. I am here simply to thank you for taking up item 10 on your agenda tonight, to address and update your policy on the school-based health center at the high school here. I particularly want to thank Board Member Andrea Valderrama for her leadership in bringing this to your attention. You may know that Planned Parenthood is committed to education, advocacy, and provision of health services. We believe that good education that is comprehensive, that considers and presents all options for responsible sexual health is important to students. I encourage you to pursue that not only in your education curriculum, but specifically tonight in helping your students take responsibility for their lives in ways that are material in helping them complete their high school education. We know that an unplanned pregnancy is the single most frequent reason causing young women to drop out of high school. It also has it has an effect on influencing young men's decision about completing high school as well. You can help the students in your district by giving them the education, information, and health services to be responsible about their lives. And I salute you for taking up this topic.
Cheryl Scarzelli and Chetta. Is Cheryl in here? There she is.
Good evening. Have this nice young man helping me with this basket. He helped me in with it. So, good evening. Cheryl Scarcelli. I'm a graduate of David Douglas, 1975. 2 children that went to David Douglas, and then as well, very sincerely honor of serving on the school board for 8 years, and I wanted to come up this evening. We didn't get a chance to really have any conversation last meeting, so I wanted to respect the new board members coming in, and also wanted to thank Lori. But I have a little presentation here that's not going to take more than 3 minutes. Okay, so I talk pretty loud too, so I don't need the microphone. Some of us are having trouble hearing back there. So, when I came on the board 8 years ago, so I've been born and raised here in David Douglas, gonna have my 60th birthday in August. A very wonderful woman, Barbara Rommel, who was the superintendent of David Douglas, gave me a JADE plan. And I was sitting right where Andrea's sitting as the newest board member, the youngest board member, because most board members had been on the board for over 20 years. And so with that, Barbara handed me this very small JADE plan. And it was in the size of this pot right here. So that was 8 years ago. And for those of you who like to plant or know a lot about plants or what comes out of the ground, a JADE plant is very sacred. And it doesn't grow fast, right? So it started very small, and it's now at this size. And this has been by my kitchen sink for 8 years. I have repotted it, not 8 times, maybe 3 times. So this evening, I would like to pass on and pay it forward to the new board members. And Andrea, you're one of them because you just ran for election rather than just being appointed. And so with that, I would like to present first to Stephanie. So I'm going to come up and give this. I wanted to do this last one. So we'll do this one. So this is for you, and I hope that congratulations, and I hope that it gives to you what it gave to me for this last 8 years, and I know that that will continue to grow.
It's very kind.
This one, they're all the same. This one will be for Andrea. And Andrea, I know you've served for the last, how many months has it been now? Has it been a year?
A year now.
A year now. And so I've waited a year to give this to you. It's official because you ran. So congratulations.
Thank you so
there you
much,
go.
Cheryl. That's so thoughtful.
There you go.
Thank you.
And there's the reason why there is, let's see here, I might have accidentally given this one to Stephanie.
As long as it's not a cactus, I'm okay.
This little tie here that says David Douglas, so that was my necklace. And so I cut it into 3 parts. And so I wanted to make sure that Stephanie had that.
Thank you.
There you go. And then also have one for, and this is historical because new board member, sister of Andrea, who is Anna Del Rocchio, former Rosa Valderrama. I would like to congratulate you because you're creating history on this board. Sisters on the board. So there you go. And again, I hope it does for you what it's done for me this last 8 years. And what's in the envelope is a saying, and it's a quick saying that I'm going to say real quick, because it has to do with a scholar that first created this quote, and he created this quote for student leaders. And then Mother Teresa kind of changed it up a little bit. So in your envelope, you have both versions, but I'm going to read Mother Teresa's, as this hung on her wall, and this is a sign for diversity at David Douglas, because I'm here to tell you, since I started at David Douglas in the mid-60s, there has been a lot of changes, but in my view and opinion, everyone is the same and we all look the same. So this is what Mother Teresa has to say. And thank you for allowing me to be up here a couple more minutes past 3 minutes. People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend your years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find sincerity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. So in other words, don't carry hatred. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. In the final analysis, it is between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. So that's my quote for this evening, and I will follow through to say I do have a 4th jade plant, and that's for Lori, and the reason why it's for Lori is to say thank you, because as a board member, she is someone that you can rely on, and I relied on her shortly this last year because she's been with our school district for over 20 years, and she's following Gail's footsteps very well. So thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a quick question. I have 3 people signed up from Multnomah County Health Department. You guys are talking right at the beginning of the action item, right? Yeah, we're working on it. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure you didn't want to talk more. Okay, Ben Wixon.
My name is Ben Wixon, and I've been an English as a second language teacher here in Southeast Portland for the last 16 years. I'm here to encourage the current board members and the new board members to continue to support the inclusion resolution and the district's mission to provide a safe and inclusive environment. I'd also like you to consider or reconsider the censure of Bryce Anderson because of his derogatory remarks connecting sanctuary schools with murderers and immigrant students. As an ESL teacher, I understand and know students need to feel safe. They need to trust their teachers and their schools. Bryce's remarks only foster distrust and suspicion from students already experience heightened anxiety levels and stress. Students should feel welcomed in our schools. Without a safe environment and a safe place where they feel trusted, we're going to have even harder time assimilating these kids and making them a part of our environment, making them successful in our schools. That's it.
Okay. Oh. Thank you. Okay, so there's a person on here that looks like maybe they wrote their signature, so Anya Val, is it? Okay. You're with the Multnomah County Health Department? No? Oh, You just signed in
She's
'cause
my
you're-
best friend, and she's watching my kids.
Well, there you go. Okay, well, I'll just check that off then. Okay. Diana Duran?
My name is Diana, and I am testifying on behalf of Pueblo Unido. I am testifying because I'm frustrated with the comments Mr. Anderson made in the March board meeting, as well as his recent comments in the Mid-County memo. Kate Steinle and Juan Sanchez have nothing to do with the David Douglas School Board's inclusion resolution, yet Mr. Anderson automatically associated inclusion and sanctuary with violent crime. Mr. Anderson, is this how you view all the students and parents that reside in this district without documentation? Like they are violent criminals. That's the message your comments have sent to this community. Although your comments and the way the board handled this issue have been infuriating, I am grateful to Heather and others for bringing attention to this issue. Unfortunately, your comments are just evidence of the bigotry and prejudice that occurs daily in Portland. Latinos have to constantly navigate with racial bias floating in the air of Portland, have to live their lives labeled by negative stereotypes like anchor baby, lazy, illegal aliens, and know that we will always have to fight for our right to be treated equally by privileged people such as yourself, Mr. Anderson. We live in a state with the highest rate of hate crimes towards people of color, as was quite evident on the Max 2 months ago. And you contribute to this hostile environment when you use your position as a district official to speak out against immigrants as if they were all criminals. I will not sit here and act like I don't see color. You are a white man in a position of power, and thus far you have failed to demonstrate any understanding around why your comments are so harmful. That's why we propose that our new board members introduce a motion to revisit the censure motion against you. I would like to close my testimony by welcoming the newly elected members Ana del Rocio and Stephanie Steffens to the board. I hope with you now on it, this new board will begin sincerely listening to the voices of the community and distancing themselves from Anderson's hateful rhetoric, which seems to have only gotten worse and more public. Lastly, I would like to thank and share my full support for Andrea Valderrama for working towards bringing full access birth control at the clinic before the new school year. This is an important initiative for promoting more equitable access to health care for David Douglas residents. We hope to see the new board continue to promote community-focused initiatives like this one.
Joe Kelly? Joe Kelly?
Sorry, didn't hear the name there, but I wasn't originally intending on speaking today, but since I was here, I thought, why not? I am a parent of 4 children who have been through their years of David Douglas in the district, and they've had a great experience. I want to thank you for your service. I know that you're not getting your pockets lined by the service that you do on the school board, the positions that you hold, and I think it's very honorable to serve and to want to serve. But I also am a little bit concerned about the agenda sometimes of the board meetings. I think that there's so much good that can be done. I think that our students deserve great things, and I think it really is all about our students. So I hope that when agenda items keep coming up, that you'll move on things you've already voted on. I think everyone should have a right to speak, and I think that's everyone's right, and I wouldn't ever want to tell them when they couldn't. But I hope that you'll go on with the business and do so with the students in mind as you do so, because they are the most important thing. Thank you.
Okay, it just says Robert.
Chair. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to speak.
Could you give us your last name
No.
for the record? No?
No. Anyway, I guess I'm hopeful that this new board will choose to work together rather than to separate each other into different groups. I think the purpose of the school board here is to serve the students, to serve the community, and to make this a better place for David Douglas. I've had 5 of my own kids go through this school district, and 3 kids that we adopted went through the school district also. And I was very pleased with the teachers and the students and the staff that showed concern and care not only for my kids, but everybody around them. So I hope that incidents that come up that show bigotry, whether it be racial or religious or whatever, that you can work together to remove these things from the community and not separate ourselves into little groups. It's good for our kids to see us be adults. It's good for our kids to see us work together and actually sit and listen to each other and try and understand each other rather than to divide each other. My hope is that all of you who've been elected and those who have gotten on the board by other means recognize that you represent everybody, not just those who you may that may have voted for you, that you have that obligation to everybody. My hope is that David Douglas School District continues to be a good school district, and that we welcome anybody and everybody that chooses to come into our community and participate in the school district. I hope that you can be forgiving of each other when you make mistakes. I hope that you can look at each other and say, this is a good human being that deserves to be treated properly, and that we show as much tolerance toward each other as we would like others to show us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jana Moss.
Hi, my name is Jana Moss, and I'm also here to make a statement on behalf of Pueblo Unido. As Diana laid out earlier, Mr. Anderson's comments in the March board meeting are harmful and unacceptable because they imply that all undocumented immigrants are violent criminals. This criminalizes and demeans many of the families that you are charged with representing. Mr. Anderson's recent comments in the Mid-County Memo article further demonstrate that he does not fully understand his duties as a board member. Mr. Anderson, you do not only represent conservative families or white families or families of the church. Rather, it is your responsibility to represent the best interest of all families in David Douglas. That means that it is incumbent upon you to sincerely listen to what community members testify about the harmful consequences of your comments. And the same goes for this board as a whole. The last few months have made it clear that the majority of the board, as it was then, was not interested in addressing or even listening to the concerns expressed by David Douglas students, parents, and community members. Instead, these concerns were dismissed for a litany of superficial reasons, such as the complaints noting the wrong statute, claiming that what Bryce said wasn't really discriminatory, censorship is too harsh, censorship is not harsh enough, and the most outlandish, that the people who care about the inclusion resolution or anti-immigrant rhetoric coming from this board are a bunch of paid protesters who get their kicks out of attending school board meetings. The bottom line is, the censure was an appropriate action that the board should have taken to admonish Bryce's comments. It cannot become normal or acceptable for district officials to express comments that are antithetical to the clearly stated goals of this district, namely diversity, inclusion, and tolerance, particularly when those views are rooted in racism and xenophobia. This should not be controversial. And yet, Chairman Kyle Riggs has sought to circumvent and even outright restrict public testimony on this issue. His political maneuvering simply reinforces the notion that this board has been out of touch with those it purports to represent. I'd like to thank Andrea and Christine for their support of the censure motion last month, and I'm heartened to see Stephanie and Anna sworn in today. It is my hope that you all can give this board a new direction and one that represents community participation and better represents the interests of all David Douglas families, regardless of their race or immigration status. And I hope that this new board will demonstrate those commitments through action by revisiting the censure motion against Bryce Anderson and sending a clear signal that they have heard our voices. Thank you.
All right, on to superintendent's report.
Great, thank you very much, Mrs. Chair. Was Vice Chair, I think it's Chair now. So my very first opportunity, Pat gets the privilege of swearing in, but I get the privilege of presenting certificate of election from Multnomah County. So I'd like to walk around and just say thank you and present your official certificates. Anna, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Excited to have you.
Not official.
We'll go over here and start with the two newest, Stephanie. Christine, I'm zigging and zagging. I guess I could. Thank you so much. Appreciate your service. Thank you so much. I appreciate your service.
Thanks.
Thank you. So one of the many privileges, honors, and fun things I get to do, and thank you all. I'm so excited to serve for you, each and every one of you, and the entire group. So thank you. With that said, moving forward, just my report, a few quick remarks to bring the board up to date on a few items. Number one is a celebration. Proud of, we can always do more, but just a quick report on our food program, meals during the summer. We continue, our district, we do not close down. We have summer school going, we have meals going, we have Sunday school programs going. We have a lot of different activities to serve kids. And just quickly, since June 20th all the way up till the end of June or July 1, we served an estimated 790 breakfasts to community students, over 5,000 lunches. And again, that's just into June till July. And then estimated, kind of looking through July and August, we serve about 1,500, I'm going to round up, meals each and every day for students and families. So again, a lot going on in each and every one of our buildings. Which brings us to our buildings. Just a quick update. We have 3 major construction projects going on. Summer comes, we have a little more opportunity to get in there. These are just the major ones. We have a lot more going on in many buildings. But number one, Mill Park. It's a seismic upgrade, which is really focused on the roof. You might think it opposite, but it's roofing and structuring. So that project is in full steam ahead. And the good news, obviously, anytime we start a major project like that, our target is opening of school. And right now, we're on target. Right now, we're on schedule. So that's great. The second major project is Lincoln Park, and it has windows and siding that we're updating for more efficiency. And again, I know some of you have seen the pictures, maybe you've driven by, and it's full on construction mode. And again, we're still on target with that, which we're very excited about. And the last one, Alice Ott, it's fairly major, although it's limited. It's the stairs to the main entrance are in full construction mode. They started to become, they actually started to separate. The whole stairs separated, so we had to demo out and put in a whole new set of stairs. So just a quick update on those. Second, or third, wherever had, I received a call from ODE and was notified that we were selected for the National Governors Association's Parents and Children Thriving Together. It's a 2-generation grant is what it's called. And ultimately it's seeking to partner with communities to develop statewide Oregon 2-generation plan to improve school attendance and family outcomes. Multnomah County, with a focus on David Douglas and Park Rose, who will all be partnering, is one of the 5 sites in the state chosen for this project based on the potential for learning from diverse populations that have been disadvantaged and stressed economically. So, to be quite honest, this is the only notification I have. So if the first question is how much, what's it come with, I don't know yet. So I've made a return call and we've connected and we're going to be scheduling a meeting. But still, it's exciting news and an opportunity to support our community.
The next one, just a quick update, more of a business item, and we'll be bringing more, but I want to thank Pat and her team. We're in the middle of transition to purchasing cards right now, getting away from traditional checkbooks and going to a more streamlined system. And I can tell you that's gone very smooth. The feedback that I've received from our administrators and principals is that the customer service and the support that the business office has made, which I know it seems like it can be small, but when you're talking about the budgets and the purchasing and what's happening in schools every day, it can be very large. So just want to let you know that we're moving forward, and by next fall, we should be in full implementation mode. We're very close. So thanks to Pat and her team. It's going well and will make us more efficient, which is good news. And then the last two, the next one is really, we all know, we've read in the paper, but a little bit what it means to us. Our legislature did adjourn. A few things that occurred that will impact us. Number one is passed a state school fund appropriation of $8.2 billion with a 50-50 allocation. I've already communicated with the board what that means and what that looks like. The good news is 8.2 is better than the starting point of 7.8. The bad news is that's still a reduction budget for us. So that's just a reality we're in. We're working with our groups, and we will do everything we can in serving our students. But just so you know, that's where we're at currently. They allocated $170 million for Measure 98, added flexibility for small districts within that. Ultimately, they have not talked about how that will be distributed yet, so we don't know how that will be distributed, but we have communicated that we will be applying for that money. That money is for high school graduation supports, college transition supports, and the third one is, well, middle school. You can use them as middle school, yeah, STEAM, CTE, kind of in the transition piece. They allocated $24 million for Measure 99 outdoor school. So that's not fully funded, but again, there'll be resources for us to support. We do have outdoor school money or budget in our budget, so there should be some give and take there, which is good news. It just helps our budget. They delayed the PE minimum requirements outright for 2 years and created a 4-year phase-in for the new PE requirements. Now, a reminder, we have full-time PE specialists in every single one of our buildings. That's fairly rare. We're very proud of that, but there were some other minute requirements that the legislature put into place that many districts were going to struggle with, and we would have struggled with as well, to be quite honest. So allowing this buffer is going to help us to roll it out effectively. They put some sideboards on the new dyslexia screenings and allocated $1.9 million, so it's not an unfunded mandate. There's actually going to be some supports with it. Excuse me. They allocated $6.2 million to assist school districts in addressing chronic absenteeism, which is a great opportunity for us to access funds. Issued $101 million in state bonds to fund Oregon Schools Capital Improvement Matching Program. This is just a continuation, so if we do end up going for a bond, when we end up going up for a bond sometime in the future, right now there are some matching fund programs out there. And finally, they issued more monies, which we're already accessing, around seismic rehabilitation and the grant programs there, which we've been awarded and use and have helped our facilities along the way. And then the final one is a little bit of bad news, unfortunately, to bring the board up to speed. So you know, I've kept you up to speed in our Title 1A funding, 1A allocation. We at one point had notification that we were looking at upwards of $1 million reduction. That was very scary because those monies go directly in support for kids. We got some good news that was reduced, and it went down significantly to where our reduction was more around $400,000. I'm using very round numbers here. So again, it's sad. We were celebrating that we have to cut $400,000, but the reality is going from $1 million to that was a good. Unfortunately, just this week we weren't notified. One of our staff found it on the webpage. It says now our reductions are more like $770,000. So that's an increase that we weren't expecting, and I have a call into ODE. Actually, today I left a message, so we're waiting for some feedback exactly if this allocation formula is correct or not, and why haven't we been notified. So again, at this point, we'll keep you up to speed on exactly what that means for our district and how we work with that, but I just wanted you to know the initial is worse than what's projected and communicated to us from ODE. And Madam Chair, that's my quick report this evening.
Thank you. Okay, on to the financial, oh, you have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Richardson, did you, actually this is probably better information for the August meeting, but I just wonder what plans we've made for the Constitution Week.
You bet. And actually, I asked, Brooke and I kind of talked about it a little bit this week, so I don't know if Brooke, you can share. Brooke's with curriculum and instruction, kind of comes under her. Yeah,
traditionally, what we do every year is we send an email out every year for Constitution Day is September 17th every year. And so because we receive federal funds, we are required to acknowledge that day and celebrate that day. So what we do for all the staff is we send an email just with a link of a variety of different activities, lesson plans, but we really leave the choice onto the schools about what they want to do and what that looks like in their buildings, but we provide needed support. I know this year we talked about at our admin week that's coming up August 14th, I believe, is really taking a little more time talking about it with our administration about what more that, what that could look like on a larger scale.
I guess I bring it up because, my intent in bringing it up originally back in April was, I was kind of hoping, maybe at least at the high school where the kids are a little older, could appreciate is a full-blown assembly of some kind with activities at the assembly, or speeches, whatever that could be centered around, the Constitution and appreciation for it.
Okay. We, again, part of it was meeting with administrators to talk about and present ideas, and I'd be happy to share that with our, actually not just our high school, all of our administrators, so I'll have a conversation.
And the high school staff, Mr. Byer and others are involved in that?
Oh, yeah,
meeting?
yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You bet, thank you.
I have a question for Brooke related to that. Brooke, has there been any requests coming from students or families around expanding observation of Constitution Day?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right. Financial report. Pat?
So in front of you, the financial report, I'm going to be really brief. Our main focus, of course, is the general fund. And for our adopted budget for 17-18, we had projected a $10.9 million beginning fund balance. We right now are projecting 11.3, and I expect that to go up. We still have about $1.5 million in encumbrances that we're clearing off the books. And so that will take us probably a couple more weeks to go through outstanding purchase orders and invoices, and we actually have one more payroll, I think, to post to last year. So as Ken mentioned, we instituted two cards, and we closed out our final student body checking account. So the grants funds and student body fund are our best estimates at this time. We're still going through and posting those items. Capital projects, we have Lincoln Park in progress, and I'm waiting to hear how much we are actually going to get billed. We haven't received that yet, so I'm taking a stab at what's been done and what I think is there. But we do anticipate that there'll still be funds left in the capital projects fund at the end of the Lincoln Park project. And so we do still have a couple things queued, Ventura boilers and some other items that we can look at. In this report, we also have the investment reports, which tells you our cash balances, which were about $21 million at the end of June. Remember, these are for all of our funds, all across the board. Approximately 95% of that is in the local government investment pool. We have seen our interest earnings go up. The local government investment pool a few years back was very sad and was less than 0.5%, which is what you saw on your own personal accounts. Interest was not in the best area. We've seen that go up quite a bit, and I think we are up to 1.45% now. We do have a little in money market, and then we have about 1.1 that is not invested and used for ops. So if you have any questions, you can always email me or give me a call, stop by.
Any questions right now? We good? All right, on to the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda items.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
I would like to change something in the minutes,
Oh,
if possible.
okay. I guess that's,
If that's,
so you want to
Mind
pull
it.
the minutes?
yeah.
Okay. So we're pulling the minutes.
Which one? Two.
Both. It actually is regarding terminology. If there's nothing that I've learned over the past many months attending these board meetings is that our words matter. And it's the word audience to describe folks who come to participate in our democratic institution. I feel that the folks who come here are not coming to watch a show. They're not an audience. They should be referred to as either participants, attendees, or community members. So it's a change in language.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I second that.
Okay, well, are we going to pick something new today, or?
I move we use attendees.
I like attendees. Okay. Okay. So all in favor of changing the word audience to attendees, say aye.
Aye.
And that should apply to our agenda as well.
Agendas, yeah.
We can make that change. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can change it to attendees.
Sorry to make your job harder. Just, yeah.
Okay, so is it okay to reinsert those minutes back into the consent agenda
Yes,
with that
please.
change? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Any other discussion or, okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, consent agenda has been approved. Okay, on to superintendent's evaluation for 2016-17. So this is this past school year. I know it's in here. There it is. Okay. Before the board members, the evaluation form is in your packet.
Comments?
Does anybody have comments they'd like to make before we move forward?
I don't mind making some comments. For those that aren't aware of it, this is something we're required to do by policy every year, is to evaluate our superintendent prior to June 30th. And so the board that was in existence, the old members, were participating in that. Ken, we really appreciated the fact that you were willing to take on this position and go guns-ho after Don left us with such short notice. And we really feel you've done, for not having time to really ramp up, you've done a wonderful job this last year, dealing with the problems and issues that have come up, as well as keeping us focused on making sure we're closing the achievement gap and whatnot. I personally have appreciated your willingness to listen to each and every one of us and to accept recommendations on things we might change in the district. But I know as a board, we all felt you met our expectations. So that's all I have to say.
I'd just like to say that I've appreciated Ken's willingness to reach out to all the board members. And, you know, I can't remember if it was earlier this evening, I mean, when you mentioned how you were going to try to get a second round. You did that earlier in the year, and we had an opportunity to all sit down. I hope that new board members will take that opportunity to do that. It's important that the board members and the superintendent have a straight line of communication, openness, and Ken, you've had that willingness to do that, and I want to thank you for that. As far as, I think that adds to your meeting the expectations, which in the area of organizational efficiency and sustainability, student achievement, and family and community engagement, you have demonstrated, in my opinion, and met all the expectations of this board member. And want to thank you for assuming this tremendous responsibility of leading the school district. You've done a great job.
Randy, you have any comments?
Yeah, I think I'll second a lot of what my colleagues have shared. I've particularly appreciated your constant communication. You know, and as a newer board member, it's been particularly helpful to learn not only kind of your perspective, but just kind of the day-to-day or the week-to-week happenings, and have always appreciated that you've gotten back to me every single time that I've ever had a question, and there's been a lot. So I've really appreciated your quick response, your consistent communication, and also, like Bryce shared, your willingness to kind of meet with me one-on-one, even downtown. For me, it has been tremendously helpful, not only to have that communication, but then to really kind of move into, how we are using that to serve the students in the community. And I have also particularly appreciated your thoughtfulness around family engagement and community engagement, and I've personally been bringing that up in conversations around other topics that we've been having in the district, and I've appreciated that you have, been really excited about that as well, and have also kind of shared your own thoughts around that in the board meetings, and I think that is seen by others as well, and so really I've just appreciated all of that and more from you, so thank you so much.
Stephanie or Anna, you want to say anything, or?
I don't unfortunately have that much.
Yeah,
I don't.
honestly, when it
Give you
comes time to
opportunity.
vote, I'll likely abstain, and that has nothing to do with you. I just don't feel qualified yet to know what to agree or not. So, but I look forward to working with you. Yeah.
And we have met, so I do feel comfortable with the current recommendations as they stand. But thank you for being willing, like Andres said, to meet and to share your knowledge and be very transparent. I do appreciate that.
Okay. And I'll just, besides, I echo the comments that have been made. I'm just really thankful that you were here and ready to move up into the position when our previous superintendent left. It was such an easy decision to make. I mean, I've worked with you several times on various different projects, and it was nice to have that confidence that, yeah, we've got somebody here that knows our stuff and is good at doing these things. So I really do appreciate your willingness to step into this position kind of on the fly, and once again, the other said about the communication's been excellent. I really appreciate the updates and touching base a lot, and obviously I live right down the street from the offices, so I can pop in there whenever I want. I don't. Some of us have jobs, but anyways, I'd like to thank you. I think it's been a great year. Okay.
I move to accept the superintendent's evaluation as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Abstain.
Abstentions? Okay, on to the next item. We're going to talk about the Great Body Shop curriculum, and Brooke has a presentation for us. And the folders at your places go with this, right?
Yes.
The green folder.
So you guys can all hear. So one of the things we do with our board is we come and we present when we want to purchase new curriculum. And this year, health is up for the Department of Education. Health has been kind of put on the back burner, sadly, with the adoption of Common Core, because it was all about English language arts and math. And so it's been 2007 since there's been new materials. Today we're really just focusing on middle school because that's where we were out of compliance with our Division 22 standards, which is a report that we give every year. So we needed to fast track this adoption in order to bring us back into compliance so that we can start the year with that. So one of the recommendations we're bringing to you is the adoption of the Great Body Shop middle school curriculum. It is the current curriculum that is used in elementary schools and has been. Our elementary teachers overall it's received very favorably and they like it. But a couple things with Division 22 because that's what we're bound by with the state. So we do need to have some sort of plan on file about what our curriculum materials are. So we have three options with that. We can adopt from the state approved list. We can independently adopt materials, but we do have to use state criteria, or we can postpone an adoption up to 2 years. We've had to postpone an adoption one. Finances have been difficult. Luckily, we passed the bond and we were able to catch up, but it was difficult getting off schedule. This is the current schedule that's on the Oregon Department of Education website. So we caught up, we had missed math and science prior, but we caught up with the bond. So we didn't do recent adoptions with those. But right now you can see we are on health and PE to be in classrooms by the fall of 2018. As I said, we're fast tracking middle school to bring us in compliance with Division 22. But you can see they have this mapped out all the way to 2027 with rural languages. So I guess this is my chance to put in a plug that hopefully we can keep on track with the state adoption schedule. It does make it really easy and harder when we get behind. So today bringing to you Great Body Shop, it is the children's health market. Publishers have been around since 1987, and I can say they have been wonderful to work with. I work with so many different publishers, and sometimes it's hit or miss on the service that you get. These guys follow through with what they say, and I really definitely appreciate that. One of the reasons we wanted to go with this curriculum, you see the picture, but this is what it looks like. In middle school, we need a lot more flexibility about what this curriculum looks like. We have health teachers at some of our schools, but not at all of our schools. So this often falls on our PE teachers. We needed to have the flexibility, and in your book you have samples. These are the teacher guides, and then the student editions are actually pamphlets and magazines, and periodicals that are a lot more fun. So we could split this curriculum apart and have different teachers teach different units if needed. So we're working with our schools to develop a plan as to what that looks like. Right now, for PE, sometimes it can be hard to do this work, but we did train some of our PE teachers, and this seemed doable for them. But we could also take a unit, for example, in 6th grade, and I can peel this out because they do body systems, and I can give them the body systems, and they can teach it in their class. It aligns with their curriculum. So it's nice that we have that flexibility, whereas with a traditional textbook, we do not. So the mission of the Great Body Shop, and obviously we want to equip children and families with knowledge and skills to make healthy choices. That's what it's all about. So in your packet, you can see program guide. This goes over all the different topics, the levels, and what it's about. So you can see everything that's covered on a more deeper level. They have different themes. For example, this first one is becoming a lifelong learner. And you can see all the different levels, all the different skills that students would get underneath that. So the instructional materials, as I said, teacher guides that are divided up by unit, and then the student editions are really nice. The students get to take these home with them when they're done. They can refer back to them if they want to. They can take them home for their families to see and to share with their parents. That is a key theme of this. The scope and sequence, I did want to really point out for you on this some more sensitive topics, child sexual abuse prevention and human growth and development. The child sexual abuse prevention is Senate Bill 856. That's where we were out of compliance. And Senate Bill 856 says that every grade, kindergarten through high school, at least 4 lessons a year on child sexual abuse prevention. And so this aligns with that, and it brings us back into compliance. And we actually worked with teachers to identify what are those lessons that we can say with assurance every single classroom will teach every year. But they can go way deeper. The human growth and development is the human sexuality curriculum that does align with Division 22. We brought My Future, My Choice to you a couple years ago. That was 8th grade, but we need something for 6 and 7, and this brings us back into compliance for that. And you can see some of the themes where it hits child sexual prevention and human growth, cycle of life, social emotional learning. If you want to dig deeper and look at what the topics are under those, you can see that in this guide. I also wanted to touch on diversity, because that is a really key
is this curriculum one of the choices on the state's list, or is this us going with a different curriculum that meets the state criteria?
So this was on the state adopted list last time Oregon Department of Education went through adult adoption, which was 2007. The state is in the process right now. So typically what happens, if I go back to this very beginning slide right here, they went through, they're taking requests from publishers right now, and they will announce in January who's on the state adopted list. Great Body Shop has sent in their proposal. They have no reason to believe that they're not going to be on the state list. We do like to adopt from the state list. It gives us some protections with price. It also gives us some protection with making sure that we get free of charge materials that all kids have access to. For example, if we need something translated into Braille or something like that, it's on the cost of the publisher, and they have to provide those materials. We don't always get that if we adopt outside of the state. But, so we do believe it's not on yet, but we have every reason to believe it will be.
Thank you for presenting, sort of giving the overview of both stages of the curriculum. I have questions. Well, one, I have an initial level of discomfort with adopting something that we don't know is guaranteed to be on that list. I also have questions around, I think it's very important that a curriculum of this type be inclusive, particularly around gender expression. I didn't see in their definition of diversity that gender expression was included. So I'm wondering, particularly around reproductive health education, how trans inclusive the curriculum is. I also have questions around, you know, some of these level 1 cycle of life units, concept of family, dating and friendship, refusal skills, sexual responsibility. I'd like more information just about what those entail. And I guess my question procedurally would be, what is our deadline around having to adopt a curriculum? When will we know for sure what's on that state-approved list to be in compliance?
So we won't know until late January. So in terms of getting to your question on gender expression, that is in the new standards. So along with the adoptions, the districts always proceed an adoption cycle with a standards review. So there are new health standards that have been adopted by the State Board of Education. And gender expression is one of the standards that we do have to address. So we do teach to the standards always, and it is reflected in here. I could certainly get you some of the specific materials if you want to take a deeper dive and look at that. One of the things that we are up against with the Oregon Department is that because we were not in compliance with Division 22, especially in regards to Senate Bill 856, we do need to be in compliance the day that students walk in the door in the fall. So we are up against a timeline, you know, so we need to order the materials and get them to the teachers so that they can plan and come up with their plan so that we start the year rather than waiting until mid-year to say.
Is it necessary to adopt a fuller curriculum in order to be in compliance with that bill, or can we not just increase the frequency with which we deliver that child sex abuse education?
In the law, it says it's to be part of a more comprehensive curriculum. That was our first response because we were hoping to take a little more time next year, which we will do with high school. I will be coming to you next year. In high school, that will probably be in May or so. We have a little bit more leeway to go, you know, a little bit slower there. But they said it's not about just, you know, having 4 isolated lessons. It really needs to be part of a more comprehensive program and education with that. So.
Were we previously operating under some kind of an exemption? The reason why we weren't in compliance?
No, we were never exempt from Aaron's. So human sexuality under Division 22 is one of those that has undergone a lot of changes in recent years. So Senate Bill 856, when that came on like a year and a half ago, I think school districts had to really kind of say, what are those 4 lessons that we're going to teach about to, you know, to meet the guidelines of the law. But we were never exempt from it. We are still held accountable to do that.
questions, Rita? Okay.
And I can certainly get you guys any materials that you would like to see if you would, if there's a certain unit that you'd like to see, how is gender expression like represented in the curriculum? Certainly able to do that.
I'll just ask one question with Great Body or Children's Health Market. Do you know, because the curriculum's renewed, what, every 6 years or something?
Yeah, it's
State
on a
adoption,
6-year
yeah,
cycle, so
adoption.
every 7 years, yeah.
And have they usually been on the list with their curriculum?
Yes, yes, they have been on the state list. So the state skipped an adoption again because Common Core came on, so
Right.
they put health, but prior to that, it's been on the state list, yeah.
You mentioned how responsive the company was in your experience comparatively. If we were to examine or take a deeper dive into some of the units and find places where it did not meet standards, do we have the opportunity to request that they send us a different version? Can we implement standards that are tweaked a little bit? How much flexibility do we have with that?
I don't think that if there's something that we didn't particularly like, I don't know that they have a different version to send, but we could certainly work with them to say, these are our standards, we don't feel like it's a direct alignment, can you support us and guide us maybe in bringing us to alignment with the standards so that we are truly meeting the true intent. Part of, they have to go through an application process to be on the state list. They look at our standards and they do a crosswalk to make sure that they are aligned with our standards and so that we are teaching to standards. But yeah, I feel like they will work with us in any, if we need more support.
Okay.
They probably won't say, here's an alternate lesson, but they'll, they'll work with us to try and figure out how do we respond to that.
And if we order tomorrow, how long before your delivery?
You know what, pretty quick, when we have teachers wanting them. Right now, what we've done with teachers is we've given them kind of an access code, a general access code, so they can get online.
Yeah.
And they can start looking. So a couple teachers have asked for that, because a lot of times they plan over the summer and they're like, when are we going, how are we gonna fit this in? And I know one of our jobs is working with the principals to really talk about what does health look like at each of our schools.
And we've had sufficient number of teachers and other, general teachers and health teachers that have endorsed this program. They've looked through it.
Yeah, so we had anybody right now that principals thought would be responsible for teaching this curriculum. We met for a day in late May because we didn't want to. One of the things we try not to do is when teachers come back in August is train them on anything new and then say, oh, you start implementing next week. So we at least like to train in the spring, give them the summer, and then they can plan accordingly. So we had 10 teachers that came together from each of the 3 different middle schools. And they spent a day looking at lessons, digging in a little bit deeper, talking about the theory, and they identified the 4 lessons for sure at each level that we were going to all make sure that we all taught to be in compliance with Senate Bill 856. And we had very positive responses from that day.
So obviously your recommendation as our district curriculum director, speaking for the teachers and so forth, is that this is the one we should adopt.
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
I have enjoyed actually getting the Great Body Shop curriculum. Coming home with my elementary school students, and when I saw this was on the agenda, I did some independent research and couldn't find any reason not to support this. My question is really around, is this I know they're disposable, right? I mean, that's an advantage, there's also a disadvantage. So I'm assuming that $18,000 will be a recurring request to the budget committee every year?
So it is it won't be 18,000.
Ah.
But you pay for these every year. It's like a subscription that
Got
you
it.
pay. And we do that for elementary right now. So what happens is that cost gets incurred to not a new budget request, but through a growth and replacement fund that we already have in the budget. And it just rolls into that. So we would order these every year.
Just for comparison, if we adopt a math curriculum for middle school and get textbooks,
about how much, maybe Pat knows this, about how much would that cost? It's a lot more than 18,000 or even 6 years worth of 18,000.
On our budget request, it could be upwards for middle school, like 70, 80. This was way more economical, $70,000, $80,000. I think if you guys remember, we adopted high school math last year, and we spent over $300,000 on that.
And isn't language arts near $1 million?
That's $1 million usually for the K-12 adoption, yeah.
Okay, this is an action item on our agenda, so if we're ready to move on, I'll need a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the Great Body Shop curriculum.
For a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to approve the Great Body Shop curriculum. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries. Next up is the Health Clinic Comprehensive Birth Control item, number 10. I know that we have some visitors here from, and I keep wanting to call it Mount Hood, but I know it's not. It's Multnomah County Health Department. It's not the Mount Hood Health Department. And I'm going to pass it over to Andrea to give the introduction and go with it.
Sure. Thanks, Christine. Colleagues, as I shared at last month's meeting, comprehensive healthcare services should be accessible to all students in our school-based health clinic. Comprehensive healthcare services means just that services include everything from routine physical exams, immunizations, and reproductive healthcare services. And when we talk about comprehensive healthcare services, access to not only condoms but also birth control must be part of that discussion in order to ensure a truly comprehensive and holistic approach to keeping our students healthy. Access to safe, affordable, and comprehensive reproductive health care services is a basic human right and is vital to the overall physical and mental health of women, transgender, and gender non-conforming individuals who can become pregnant. And inequities in access to health care lead to inequitable outcomes for both parents and children. These inequities particularly impact low-income women, women of color, immigrant and undocumented women, young women, survivors of domestic violence, and transgender and gender non-conforming individuals. And as members of this school board, we have a very serious responsibility to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of all of our students, and providing access to comprehensive healthcare services that includes access to birth control is key. This issue has been a personal priority for me for many years as I've been working with several students, parents, and county experts to get to this point where we are today. And I also believe that with any new or expansion of service, education must be a core component of implementation. And so I'm really pleased with our new Great Body Shop curriculum. Thank you so much, Brooke, for your work on that. And I'm confident that this will really complement this additional potential service. And even with significant budget cuts ahead, I'll go ahead and continue to advocate for not only that increased education, but also that it's delivered in an equitable and accessible way as well. And that's going to be really key. So the plan for this evening is I'll have some folks present from the county, and I also have included some folks from Latino Network that I'll be calling up, and some students from the high school. And so quickly before the presentation from the county, I'll kick it over to Ken Richardson. You all should have a memo in front of you. It's very similar to the one that Deb had shared with you all couple of years ago, I guess. I did add some additional language in the beginning, but there are some changes, so I'll let Ken kind of go over what the actual action item would be this evening.
You bet. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. I'll be quick because we definitely want to hear from you. So specifically, I just want to clarify, this memo you've seen before, other than some tweaks, and you've seen it before because this has come to the board before around comprehensive birth control. And really, the difference is at the bottom. But before I get there, I want to clarify the top. Because of the way we modified this and molded this, it says from Barb Keenly, Director of Student Services, which 99% of this is from, but I'd like you to scratch that out and just put from Ken, because she's not here. She's on vacation and she's earned that, but just so there's no confusion there, this is coming from me, and as Andrea said, we communicated back and forth on a few different items with it. But specifically, if you go down through, I'm just going to go to the bullets because you have it in front of you. The bullets, the top three are the same. Really what we're looking at is the third bullet, which says continue, because we currently do, to prescribe contraception to students seeking it. So we currently can prescribe, we're not we, our county officials, and we can prescribe it. The difference is we are not allowed, or there's a restriction on dispensing it on site. That was kind of the negotiations as we work through it. We are allowed, they are allowed to distribute condoms on site, and there's a process for that. And through it all, and they're going to say it better than I do, the education piece and how that all plays out. Really specifically what's going to be before you tonight as an action item as we look at this is making a change to allow the dispense on site. And I think that's the request that we'll hear in this presentation as well. So anything I left out or you'd like me to address or add with that as I kick it over to you? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so next we have, let's see, I'll just share all of the names. So we have Kristen Case, a nurse practitioner at the David Douglas School-Based Health Clinic, and a nurse practitioner manager for the School-Based Health Clinic program at the county. Dr. Eileen Duldulau, maternal, child, and family health epidemiologist from the Multnomah County Health Department. And Mi Lee, epidemiologist and CDC CSTE Applied Epidemiology Fellow and Multnomah County Health Department.
Great, thank you, Andrea, for having us here tonight. We're going to actually take a team approach to this, so I'm actually going to do some presentation on the data, and then Mi is also going to jump in and talk a little bit about the data, and then Kristen is going to provide some of her testimony as someone who actually works in the clinic. So before you have some items before you have a one-page summary that looks at the maps. The maps can be a little intimidating to look at, so I wanted to provide something really simple that you can refer to, and I'll also be referring to it during my talk about the data. And there are also 3 sheets. They're all numbered in the top corner that show different maps. These are actually county maps that show also an overlay of the different school districts in Multnomah County in red. So just a little bit of background about the maps and how we use them in the health department. I actually make maps a lot. So the health department creates these maps to determine what geographic areas and communities have the highest need for services. So we oftentimes will map out adverse outcomes, other adverse health outcomes, to see and determine where we really focus our services and focus prevention efforts. And so what you see here are county maps with a school district overlay. Sometimes we'll use census tracts, sometimes we'll use other different spatial variations. So these are heat maps, which is why you see the differentiation in the colors. Red is the highest concentration of the different outcomes, blue being the lowest concentration of the outcomes. So the warmer the color, the higher the concentration of those health outcomes. And these maps in particular show what are high concentrations of births, abortions, and confirmed cases of gonorrhea and chlamydia among teens in Multnomah County. And the different age ranges that we use are actually for all of the indicators, because depending on how much, which data is actually accessible. So for abortion data, we actually only have for teens 14 to 19-year-olds. So we do find that there are high concentrations of these different outcomes in the David Douglas School District area, and together these maps reflect the high need for increased comprehensive access and education regarding contraception and sexually transmitted infection prevention in the geographic areas and communities served by the School-Based Health Center and David Douglas High School. So I'm going to direct you to map number 1, or actually page number 1, which has 2 different maps on it. And these are both maps that are showing the concentration of teen births in the county. The top map shows 2014, the bottom map shows 2015. We are seeing a decrease in the number of teen births in the county, especially over the last 5 years. We believe that's actually due to an increased effort to provide comprehensive contraceptive access as well as sexually transmitted infection prevention services. And especially the advent of LARCs, especially the long-acting reversible contraception, has been really instrumental in bringing the teen birth rate down. So these maps just show the high concentration, and as you can see, there are orange and red areas in the David Douglas areas. So page number 2 shows a map of, these are induced terminations of pregnancy, also known as abortions. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry
Is this
about
better?
that.
Oh, could you not hear me?
It was going off and on.
Oh, I couldn't even
It's
tell.
our system.
Oh, okay. Should I repeat myself? No.
No,
Okay,
you're-
probably not. Okay, you don't want to hear about my data? Bummer. Okay, so the second map shows induced termination of pregnancy, also known as abortions. And so we actually map this out by zip code because that's the smallest geographic indicator that we have. And so again, when we do it by zip code, we're showing higher concentrations, the red areas, in the zip codes that are covered by David Douglas, the David Douglas School District, as well as the Centennial School District, and parts of Reynolds and also Gresham-Barlow. Okay, take it over me.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to be talking about the third map on the third page, which shows the distribution of confirmed cases of gonorrhea and chlamydia, which are 2 types of sexually transmitted infections among teens in Multnomah County during the years 2015 to 2016. And so we can see that there are higher concentrations in the lower right portion of the map, which is around the David Douglas area. And so these maps in general show that the concentration of teen births, abortions, and cases of gonorrhea and chlamydia indicate that there is a high need of comprehensive access and education to contraception and sexually transmitted infection prevention in the geographic areas and communities in and around the David Douglas School District and served by the David Douglas School-Based Health Center.
So I am one of 2 medical providers at the David Douglas Clinic, and this is my 4th time before the board, and I have been with the clinic since 2010. So I've been with them since its inception. So I'd like to begin this testimony by stating that we, the School-Based Health Center, and you, the David Douglas Board, have aligned missions. By offering on-site, high-quality, our mission of healthy kids and healthy schools supports your mission of learn, grow, and thrive. By offering on-site, high-quality primary care, our program helps keep students in class and focused on learning, reduction of absenteeism, and makes healthcare access more convenient for the working parent. My hope is that your work educating youth and our work keeping them healthy is viewed as a partnership to provide kids with the best support possible to achieve a pathway to success. A student with unattended chronic asthma, diabetes, mental health disorders, STIs, or an unintended pregnancy cannot optimally focus on their learning. Public health best practices in the prevention of unintended pregnancy, abortion, and STIs includes access to all contraceptive methods. The most effective contraceptive methods to prevent pregnancy for adolescents who choose not to be abstinent, as recommended by leading medical expert bodies, the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Congress of Obstetrics and Gynecology, are long-acting reversible contraceptives, i.e. LARCs, IUDs, or subdermal implants. I want to share some of my own experiences working in the clinic, as I frequently get questions related to my work from the school board. It's important to state that there is not a stereotypical sexual health visit, as every client has a different story or history
that he or she brings to their visit. For example, the conversation around sexual health may originate during a well adolescent or well child check when the client or parent is requesting more information on birth control. It may start when a high-achieving, college-bound athlete requests birth control, or a young woman comes in requesting a pregnancy test, or it may be initiated by a mental health counselor who is talking to a depressed teen and finds out she is at risk for pregnancy. In order to provide the best care possible to meet the teen's needs and build upon their strengths, we do a comprehensive assessment covering the following categories: sexual activity, substance use, mental health concerns, school performance, bullying, and gun violence. We also assess for resiliency and strengths, a supportive adult, involvement in the community, engagement in extracurricular activities. We do this from the age of 5 to 18. We see kids across that age, and so we do it in an age-appropriate manner. These questions help us determine what type of education and counseling is most appropriate. In essence, we begin from a place of risk reduction. This includes interventions related to decreasing the risk of pregnancy, STIs, suicide, and substance abuse. When specifically focusing on sexual health, we always talk about and assess for STI risk prevention, including abstinence as the 100% effective method, as well as condoms as protection if abstinence is not the chosen method. We assess and counsel for relationship safety, sexual decision-making, meaning readiness, consequences, etc., parent engagement, and review of the birth control options from the most effective to the least effective. It is also important to point out that best protection is known as dual protection, where we educate students on the importance of using condoms to prevent STIs, even when hormonal birth control is being used. Over the last few years, our David Douglas students have had to travel to multiple school-based health centers at surrounding high schools to receive the services their peers have access to in their own buildings. I frequently have been asked by parents and students alike, why can't David Douglas provide the same service as other high school school-based health centers? That is such a hard question for me, and I have to answer it every day. The barriers are the greatest for some of our highest risk and youngest sexually active clients because they have reduced access to traveling after school. They can't leave school. Of course, we don't want them to. Reduced access to transportation, and they have to take the bus home. These clients are frequently the ones who don't show for their appointments and continue to go without contraception and are at risk for pregnancy. I have one example of a 15-year-old freshman I saw this last year. Our initial encounter was with her after she'd been hospitalized for a suicide attempt. At that point, we referred her for counseling. She divulged that she was having sex without protection. We involved her mother with her consent, and then her mother threw away her birth control. She felt it encouraged her daughter to have sex. This made the risk really, and then she was diagnosed with an STD, chlamydia. This made the risk very real, and at that point in time, she was ready to do something about not getting pregnant. She was ready to get a LARC. It was a rainy, wintry afternoon when we provided her with a bus ticket to get to another high school. I met her there, inserted the Nexplanon, which is the birth control implant, and afterwards I gave her a bus ticket to get home just as it was getting dark. I feel so privileged to be a part of this community and to be able to make an impact on these youth's lives. They come to us because they trust we will be there for them to provide the counseling and assistance they don't frequently get elsewhere. The relationships we develop over time with the students provide us with an opportunity to support them in making healthy and safe choices about their health. In essence, having access to on-site contraception is just one tool in our larger toolkit of interventions to support students in their journey to a healthy and productive future. Thank you.
Questions now of this group?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have others come up, right?
Yes,
Okay.
please do.
I've seen you the 4 times. I think I'm the only board member that is now sitting here that sat on the first thing. And I remember I was a no vote that day because of one reason. I wanted to ask our community first, and we went through a survey process to find out what our parents wanted. Because as a longtime resident board member, I knew the years when this district was very conservative, so I wanted to make sure parents were in agreement with us. And at that time that survey came back, I think it was like over 70% likely or would support comprehensive. But unfortunately, we didn't quite pass at that time. Then we went with and passed the condoms. We're doing it step by step here. But I have a couple of questions on your maps. On the first one, and I'm kind of a data person and numbers person, and I use maps can be many ways. And I know you said there's been a decline, but what I also see is a shift to the east. We know here that our people are being displaced, and they're moving farther and farther east. Are you finding that most vulnerable population is moving east as well? Is that why that map is showing that shift? Because we were
Yes.
red before in Douglas.
Yes,
and now it's
actually,
just orange.
when you look at almost every adverse health outcome, from diabetes, type 2 diabetes,
Yes.
to any of these outcomes, to low birth weight, infant mortality, you always see a higher prevalence in East County, because that East County has a lot of the populations that are now more vulnerable, poorer populations, more people of color, more immigrants and refugees. And so those communities tend to
So
have.
you think it's the part of that increase in the Gresham's Reynolds Centennial area in this first map is also
Yeah.
partly due to that
Yeah, and-
shift in population?
Yes, and as we know that in the health department, at least, we know that East County is not as well served as the rest of the county is when it comes to services.
Okay, and then your last map on the sexually transmitted diseases. I'm asking this for Kyle, because this has been Kyle's bug. He's the one who negotiated condoms only, and he had a very high concern about STDs and the fact that with other forms of birth control, it let students, young people, think that they were protected when they weren't. So they weren't using condoms, they were just using the other birth control, and therefore whatever, increases. And I notice here that in Roosevelt area, I know all those have full comprehensive birth control. And I have to say, I was a yes vote after the survey, and I'm not changing my vote because these are more just questions. Is what are you doing? Because it appears to me that by providing the other forms of birth control, we could see a spike in the disease problem. So I just wonder, what do you do as health to try to mitigate that, among the students, educate them, I guess?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I really look at it as dual protection. I look at it as prevention of pregnancy and STD prevention. And what we know is condom use is not as effective for pregnancy prevention. So we talk about preventing pregnancy is frequently about the hormonal birth control,
Right.
and preventing STDs is about the condom use. The reality is, the more contraceptive services this is my assumption, actually. I don't want to put that out there on words. But my assumption is, as we provide more contraceptive services, we will probably see more STDs diagnosed because we will be testing more. Because that's when we test, is when we're actually providing the condom. That's frequently what brings the young woman or male in, and so we're going to test more. We may see an increase because we're going to see more. There's a lot of myths in that building where, even though we can prescribe, there's a lot of myths with young people thinking that we can't even prescribe. So we don't get as many people coming in the door because they have all these, word of mouth says something else. So our numbers will go up with contraceptive services, and maybe our STD numbers will go up because we're going to diagnose
I can
more.
understand. Okay, but Roosevelt, which has had full comprehensive services for some time, I assume, they have red there. And I'm just curious, are you seeing some way you can reach those students to make them realize they need to use both if they're going to be sexually active in order to protect themselves?
Absolutely. That is the work that we do, and some of this is coming from the school-based health center, some of it's coming from primary care settings, some of it's coming from not just us. And I think I want them to say something about also where we see higher rates of it, and it is a demographic correlation sometimes in who's.
Yeah, the population there is predominantly African American, and so when it comes to gonorrhea and chlamydia, as well as syphilis, you see very pronounced racial disparities. And these racial disparities are not due to individual behavior or other demographic characteristics. They're actually due to structural inequalities in access to services. And so seeing I wasn't surprised to see a concentration in that area, since there's a concentration of African American youth there. You also see the same disparity among African American adults. They have pretty high rates of gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis too. So there are also racial disparities happening here as well. And then just in case you're wondering, that downtown area,
Yeah, I was wondering about
that's
I
Portland
look at
State
those things-
University.
Oh, that's
Portland State.
And
Yeah.
that's right, because you go till 19, so. with your
Exactly.
data,
So we
you
have all the
can't
freshmen
segregate
and
it.
sophomores, yes. That explains that particular
It
concentration
sounds
there.
like you need a health clinic there to educate them.
You have the play space, that's what we do.
Well, they actually do have a health clinic on
They
campus.
do.
And
They do.
I know for a fact, they have a basket of condoms just sitting on a table inside the door. What can you do?
That's all. I had to ask that because Kyle, that is one reason he negotiated only condoms last time, was because of this issue, and he was really concerned. And I got the impression he's satisfied now that we have additional education on this topic, so.
Well, although I will just add one additional piece, since Kyle isn't here, and he probably would say that, yes, we've talked about the body curriculum, and like I shared, we are very much interested in making sure that it's accessible and provided in an equitable way, and I definitely know that that's tied to a budget conversation and really making sure that that occurs, and definitely something that we will continue to be checking in about. So in his absence, I'll share that comment, but yes, he's also really excited about the educational component, and that was a big piece of tonight's conversation that I wanted to make sure I was articulating.
That's all the questions I.
Did you say, one of the three of you, that your studies have shown that in areas, school districts or whatever, even just Multnomah County health clinics, if there is access to birth, I guess particularly in school districts, that's what we're concerned about here. If there's access to comprehensive services like birth control pills, would that tend to increase SDIs, STDs?
You're
STDs? Because, you know, if a student they're a little, obviously they're, sorry to the students who are here, but inexperienced, let's put it that way. But yet they think that, okay, by taking the pill, maybe that's going to protect me from STDs. And so there could be a higher prevalence of STDs that could occur simply because they think they're protected. You kind of see what I'm saying?
I do, and I'm not sure that I've seen anything that supports that.
Okay.
We did get some 2015 data from the Oregon Healthy Teens information, and I just want to say just a couple of bullets from that data. And it said students at school-based health centers are students who are in schools where they're school-based health centers are 23% more likely to report healthy sexual behavior, either abstinence or using contraception at last intercourse, versus students from non-school-based health centers controlling for individual and school level demographics. So we know they're going to more likely either be on a method or they're going to be abstinent. And all I can say is we do a lot of education around condoms. In the end, it's the student's choice if they're going to use it or not, but the education is there, the access is there. And I will thank the board for approving it I think it was December. It's been lovely to be able to hand out condoms, and it has helped.
And actually, the research shows that the real key here is actually using a comprehensive approach. So the studies that I've seen where a form of contraception has been associated with increased STIs is actually with emergency contraception that's been dispensed at pharmacies. So basically, people are self-serving. So no education and no comprehensive approach. only one method is really being considered. So what's really important here is having the comprehensive access to different methods and the education that goes along with it. The research shows that that actually will lead to a decrease in STIs as well as pregnancy.
I do have some questions. Thank you so much for these data. They're beyond compelling. I just would like to ask, for the record, how many both students and wider community members, in your best estimate, does the school-based health center serve per year?
We are by far the busiest out of all of our school-based health centers.
Okay.
And, oh gosh, I can totally get that to you because we have end-of-year data. And I can also break down the percentage of contraceptive visits as well.
Okay.
I have all of it.
That would be helpful.
I don't want to make it up, though, so.
Thank you.
I will get it for you.
And I asked because, I do understand that the SPHC at David Douglas is open to the wider public, not simply to students and their parents and families. And I just want to be very explicit about the clear correlation between our school-based health center being the busiest and not offering dispensing of contraception in a comprehensive way, and these hotspots. I don't want to, shy away from saying that I do believe strongly that if, we follow best practices and provide that dual approach, we will address these very red areas. And, I don't think that it's any question that the broad scope of the community that we serve, the high risk levels that exist in these areas, the racial disparities, are the patients that we will be serving. So I just wanted to make that comment, and thank you for being willing to share information with me at a later date about how many people you serve. Thank you.
We serve very few clients outside of the David Douglas School District. I mean, my experience is we see Fur Ridge. We do see some Reynolds, but as I don't know if you know, Reynolds is moving forward with some community engagement around school-based health centers, as well as Gresham Barlow, and we will start off with full comprehensive dispensing with both of those school districts. But we do see a few Reynolds kids, but 95% is David Douglas.
Thank you.
Other questions? So just real quick to make sure for our new board members, also when a child's sick at school, at the high school, many times they're shunted over to you in the middle of the day for, my child who has an anaphylactic reaction in the middle of a school day. So beyond all this stuff, you do so much more, and I'd like to thank you for that. And I love your heat maps. I work at OHSU. I'm a fan of heat maps, but I just want to say that even if we were a blue, we need this. So.
I don't have anything to add. I want to look a little bit further into how you provide your services. I'd like to come and visit you and learn. I also just want to say that, we spent a good deal of time in the body shop talking about sexual abuse, and I'm curious how you address issues of consent. My first sexual experience was not consensual and led to a lot of issues in my life. So this is an issue very close to me.
So we have at least 3 other speakers that I want to make sure that we're getting to since it's getting late. But thank you all so much for all of that information. Next, I'll probably just call everyone up at the same time. So I'd like to welcome, I just lost my spot, Veronica Sutherland Perez, the Health and Wellness Manager of Latino Network. And I also have Jennifer Fung of the Yeja group at the high school. And I believe there are some students with Jennifer as well who may provide additional testimony. Will not be testifying, but are here in the audience. And I think that that's all that I have for my list, but please just wave your hand if I'm missing anyone else. Got you in the back.
She's going to show support.
Great. Good evening. Thank you for having me here to provide some input and testimony. Like Andrea said, my name is Veronica Sunderland Perez. I'm the Health and Wellness Manager at Latino Network. We work in a lot of the schools in this district, and I'm here today to speak in favor of starting to dispense birth control at the school-based health center. Latino Network and our community believe that it is crucial to provide youth access to sexual health information and services in order for them to live healthy and productive lives. Latino Network first began teaching sexual health education in its youth and parent after-school programming in 2013 as part of a coalition of organizations and community members providing Latino-specific health education across the county. We started off doing this with only a few of our existing youth and adult groups. We weren't really sure what our community would say since it is a stigmatized at times and value-ridden topic. However, we were shocked. Our parents and our youth were fully in support of these classes and commented on the huge need to have more information on this topic. As a result of this experience in 2015, we, Latino Network, partnered with the Multnomah County Health Department in order to reduce unplanned teen pregnancy and STIs in communities of color in particular, which continue to have disproportionately higher rates of teen pregnancy and STIs as compared to non-Latino whites, as those maps that you were looking at and the previous speaker spoke to. We recognize that parents are a critical influence on their children's sexual health, and research shows that teens who report having good conversations about sexual health with their parents have stronger relationships with them and are more likely to delay sex, have fewer partners, and are more likely to use condoms and other birth control methods when they do have sex. For this reason, we wished to honor parents in our community and wanted them to be better prepared to have discussions about sexual health with their youth. So we've expanded our efforts to teach our community more about this topic. In the past year, we were able to include in the majority of our parent education classes across the county, and we taught over 170 parents. In David Douglas School District, we reached 21 parents at Ron Russell and Floyd Light Middle Schools. In the upcoming year, we will be including our education component with our youth in our Conexiones and Early Escalera and Escalera programming at both of the middle schools and at the high school. So I'm focusing a lot on education because I really want you to know that it is a dual strategy. So providing birth control at the health clinic as well as providing the education, and I'm really happy to see about the proposal to incorporate this new curriculum is so important. Having parents on board for us was crucial, and they continue to be overwhelmingly supportive of our education efforts and have requested that we increase the number of parent classes from 3. Currently, we give them 3 classes in the year to as many as possible because they just speak about the lack of information that they received growing up and so are very ill-equipped, or they feel they are very ill-equipped to provide information to their youth. Having access to these methods in the health center would help partner with the parents so they're providing information at home and the youth can go into the school and obtain the method that they want. While our values may differ, science and evidence is clear. Providing youth with unbiased sexual health information and access to birth control does not increase sexual behaviors. Instead, it empowers youth to make healthy and responsible decisions if and when they do become sexually active. I'd also like to add that in terms of access to services, anecdotally, we have heard from our community that due to the immigration climate that we are currently experiencing, our community is making fewer visits to medical visits, medical appointments. And so having access directly in their school where they do not have to go out into the community where they could be targeted is fundamental to increase equitable access to health care. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Fung, and I'm a youth organizer at Opal Environmental Justice Oregon. For the past 2.5 years, I've been working with high school students from David Douglas as well as other high schools in Portland. And through our youth leadership program, we engage students on various community issues and really offer a safe space for students to come together and talk about personal experiences. I am here representing our students at Opal, the students that we work with from David Douglas, to support the MOU to include comprehensive healthcare services, including birth control. I think that it's super important to students, especially those who come from low-income backgrounds, students who identify as transgender, gender nonconforming, to young women, and just students who need access to health services, especially during this political moment where our healthcare system is under attack, where millions of people could lose access to healthcare, where reproductive health services is being taken away. This MOU and the revision to include comprehensive services is more important than ever. We have students who access the health clinic, and I know that this will actually be an approach that would make it equitable. And also looking at the specific experiences of the students at the high school, including some of the data that was presented, I think that it's going to help address the overall teen pregnancy, sexual health, and well-being of the students. I believe that everyone should have access to healthcare services and that this is a human right. And I hope that tonight our board members can really vote to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were all of the folks that I had lined up for the item. Sorry, Jennifer.
Before
questions.
Jennifer, since you're here, I think I want to make people realize the group she works with Opal Youth, which helped us get the funding from the city for some free youth passes, but also their group were instrumental in getting the transportation package at the state done that includes a program for low fares for those that qualify. And I just heard from Vivian that they hope to implement that in September, which is going to help so many of our residents here to be able to cut their cost for taking transit in half. So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we can call for a motion because we can discuss after the motion's made. So,
okay. Well, I move to discuss. Or
just make a motion.
Yeah, just make a motion.
Add comprehensive.
Right. So I'll move to, per the memo, update our MOU with Multnomah County to include the dispensing of birth control to the comprehensive healthcare services in our school-based health clinic.
And I have to tell you, after the original vote 4 years ago was a no, I'm more than happy to second your motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, so it's open for discussion.
I would like to thank Andrea very much, and Christine as well. I know that you worked on this issue quite a bit. I want to thank all the presenters and all those that helped put together these reports and these data. I enthusiastically support this change in our policy. And I also, in addition to expressing my enthusiastic support, I'd also like to express regret that it's taken us this long to get here, that we've had to allow the problem to get this bad. However bad the problem is, I agree with Christine that this is something that is our obligation to provide. It's a basic fundamental health services that all community members and students have a right to access. I am very grateful, and I appreciate that this will mark my first board meeting, and I think that it will have a very clear benefit to our students' ability to learn, grow, and thrive.
Do you have any more comments? Bryce?
Remind me, under the current program and then under the future program, this is fully funded by maybe our
Multnomah County
expert. I'm sorry, there you are. It's fully funded by the county, the services?
Of third-party, we get reimbursement, we get Medicaid, and we do get some county general fund.
Okay, thank you.
None of it comes from the school district.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, say that again?
None of it
Comes from the school, okay, all right. That's one thing, in this, tight budget life that we're in right now.
Building stuff, I don't know, but the actual direct services, I can't answer that, but no direct services
All right. Thank you.
Stephanie?
So we're in the business of educating children, and in order to be educated, they need to finish school. And if this is going to allow more children and youth the opportunity to have control over their bodies and graduate, then it's an obligation. I also think we're in the business of educating youth around sexual education and health, and I look forward to seeing new maps after I'm sure this will pass. Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of it.
No. I've made it clear in the past, I'm very supportive of this, so I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Anybody opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it passed unanimously. Awesome. Okay, we're on to item number 11, second readings of board policy. We've talked about these a few times. I think we got a new version 3 of pediculosis, which is head lice, for those of you that don't know that. There's a name for it that's more than just head lice. Did the new board members have a chance to review the policies?
Yes. I had some, do I have to pull? I don't pull anything because it's not a consent agenda. Okay, cool. Still learning the rules. I have a couple changes or questions around the wellness, program.
Okay, so is this the EFA?
Yeah, this is a sample policy.
The numbered pages on the very right.
EFA?
The EFA 16. Yeah. So I saw that the establishment of a wellness advisory committee was taken out. And I assume this is because we don't want to create more work for ourselves, yes? I'm very interested in especially the food issues in the district and want to involve the parents. I have a lot of parents who are interested in the issues around wellness and food, and I would like to have a wellness committee. I think that would be fantastic, and I'd like to be a part of it.
I actually read the changes as just shifting the responsibility of doing the work from the board to the administration.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Okay.
But I want to be involved.
Oh, I see.
I would like to be on a wellness committee, and I'd like it to be more than just the super.
Okay.
Or I'd like to work with you, Ken.
So I had asked that same question to the committee, the policy committee. Kyle.
Of Kyle.
Kyle.
Of Kyle. Kyle and Kyle alone.
And now I'm not able to find it. He pointed out that it was included, it was moved to a different
version.
Or it was moved to a different policy, yes. And so the actual establishment of the committee is not, the way that he shared, is not being removed, but maybe someone else can kind of further clarify that. That was what he had shared with me, because I had also shared the similar concern of kind of removing that committee, but he kind of pointed out before that it was still included.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it.
With that said, Madam Chair, we just, for Stephanie's concern, one is obviously the board could say, we want to keep it, we don't have to strike it. Although that was brought to us by OSBA, these are
Yeah,
recommendations
yeah.
they brought, and I think that's absolutely correct, it's somewhere else. But with that said, it doesn't take a policy for the board to say, we want a wellness committee.
A board
and
committee,
this is
yeah.
what it's
And I'm fine with that too, like to pass it as is and then create a
Follow-up.
follow-up. Yeah. That was my second question, so
Yeah.
thank you for answering it.
Do you have any other policies, Stephanie, that you'd like to?
That's just the one that concerned me or interested me.
I just wanted to draw attention to and comment on a couple changes that I really support. The main one being the change in the physical education policy within the local wellness section. Physical activity during the day, including but not limited to recess, classroom physical activity breaks, or physical education will not be withheld as punishment
Yes,
for
I
any
noticed that, yeah.
reason. I think that that's a very clear and important policy. I would be very surprised to see that happening in our schools. So I appreciate that. And then I also want to call attention to the employee wellness section. I think it's really important that we put our team first when it comes to wellness and making sure that we're able to deliver the services we promise our kids. So that's a really, really important and I think forward-thinking approach.
Does anybody else have any comments? I will say that in regards to the withholding physical education, when my son was in preschool and a toddler, they brushed their teeth every day, and that was withheld for punishment. Teeth brushing. So it happens. It does.
Most kids wouldn't think that was punishment.
Well, they made it an exciting thing to brush teeth after lunch. So that was a punishment to not get to brush your teeth. I told him I wasn't a fan of that idea. So do we have any more comments on any of the other policies?
One quick thing on the evaluation of superintendent, paragraph 2 on CBG 1-1. It's the very first page. Where it says additional criteria for evaluation, if any, will be developed at a public board meeting prior to conducting the evaluation. The superintendent will be notified of the additional criteria prior to the evaluation. I'd like to have a time frame on that because I don't think it's fair to
tell them the week before.
Tell them a week before. You're
them
going
what you
to
should
be
have been doing this all
evaluated
year.
because we're mad at you for something. So, yeah, I'd like to see a time frame added.
As a person who has lived through, I think, 4 iterations of evaluation, it is a very long process for the board to decide to change it. I think we've had this one for probably a good 12,
Prior to
15
me.
years.
So would you want it done, would you want him notified of a change before the school year starts? Because that seems fair to me.
That sounds like about right. Yes, I think if the board at a public meeting wanted to put something new that wasn't like on the time frame that the superintendent's evaluation is normally, I think the beginning of the year is appropriate. So I'd like to move that that's added.
I don't know.
Don't think.
With it.
Yeah. Okay.
Should I second? Does someone have to second?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Okay. Everybody say yes if they're interested in this one, yeah? Okay. All of those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passed. Lori, did you get that? Awesome. Okay, other comments on other policies? You know, and
Given the minor change, we can still approve it as a second reading
Yeah.
because it's so minor.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, we can bring it back for review, but
No, I'm
if you are comfortable, we'll pass it with
Pass it.
Lori's updates.
Okay, okay. So can I get a
I
motion?
move to accept I guess it's the amended board policies. I'm not going to read them all off.
Okay.
A second.
All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so just real quick, every year so next month, you'll get a sheet signing up for subcommittees, and the policy committee is a choice. Unlike Kyle, I'm not gonna volunteer myself to do it, just a FYI. So somebody can get really excited about policy and
Well, it really depends on, usually after legislative session, we end up having a few that we have
Lots.
to change.
Yeah, lots.
We did a full review, Shannon and I did, with Dawn, that was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So we're really just in an updating stage right now with legislative changes. So unless someone wants a real change in a policy.
Okay. Okay, we're on to other business / future agenda items.
Other than the committee positions, because I don't think Anna and Stephanie, have you been told about committee position? They're kind of ad hoc committees, like right now, where we have negotiations going on. We have multiple other ad hoc committees. And we'll be...
So maybe at our board workshop, we can talk about that when we have our training.
Yeah,
but
that would be great.
Fit that in a little.
You put in your
overview.
request, but really it's up to the board chair where she places everyone.
Okay, well, we can talk about that then.
Yeah, I mean, and it is if you have like some particular passion for a certain thing or expertise in a certain thing, then that's good to know.
And we've deleted and added committees as well. So
Yeah.
by input.
So I have one for a future agenda item. I'm particularly interested in one of the testimonies that we heard around recruitment and retention of our teachers. I think that it is part of a broader conversation around general cultural competency and particularly ethnic studies that I'd like to also explore, and so would be interested in having a dialogue. I could be swayed to either have an agenda item or a workshop on this. I think probably a workshop to start and then to come back later and discuss it maybe in the fall as we work through that list of workshops that I know are coming soon. I do think that it would make sense for us to start that dialogue. So I would like to learn how we can get that scheduled.
Now, did the state legislature pass
ethnic studies?
Ethnic
Yeah,
studies.
yeah, yeah. That's
so
right.
that's coming.
So we have
That's
some
on your radar?
curriculum work to
That's
do.
a curriculum.
Right, curriculum question. Just throwing that in there since you brought it up.
And have you fully fleshed out the workshops yet? Because I'm interested in the hire, as you know, negotiating, I'm interested in some of the hiring practices, more to make sure what I've learned through housing and all the stuff I've been doing is there's unintended barriers to people. And so I'd like to learn more about our whole process to see if we can see some unintended barriers that happen to certain segments of our population as well.
Yeah.
If there's time, but I think it'd be a nice discussion.
Okay.
So I can bring that, and that's one of the future business items I was just going to bring to attention, and everyone knows this, and actually it's come from through Laura. So it's just a reminder, August 8th and August 11th are workshop nights. And my understanding, based, and I did email this to you, and maybe not the new board members yet, but it talked about the structure of Board 101 and kind of how it works together, how we're going to work together. But part of that, how we're going to work together, is what we're going to work on as well. And my understanding is during the workshop is some real life problems and kind of going through that. So I guess I will definitely contact Mr. Kelly about this, just to let him know. But also, if you'll be thinking about those topics, so when we do come to the workshop, if you have those. These are things that I think as a board we should be looking at over the next year, 2 years, 4 years. How does that play out? My understanding that's part of the process. That's part of it. So,
I want to be clear. I heard kind of separate and related requests, one around ethnic studies curriculum implementation and another around the teacher shortage, specifically with the lens of recruitment, retention, and training of teachers of color. I have a specific request I actually would like to see at a board meeting, sort of briefing and presentation with disaggregated data on what our current teacher workforce looks like from a race and ethnicity perspective. There were some questions around, what is our current makeup? I think that will help give us a map in terms of where we need to go. And I also think that it would be great to just hear an update. I know you have a strategy for addressing the teacher shortage and the pipeline and reducing those unintended barriers. It would be great for us to hear in this meeting and for the community members to hear what that plan currently looks like. Because I know that the work is very active in that department. So to create more transparency there, I'd like to see that on a future agenda item.
Just so you're aware, in September, we always get an update on staffing, but it'll just be a matter of adding that little piece to it.
So we do disaggregated staffing report. We can get that to you right away because we have it on our fingertips. If we want it next month, we can talk a little bit, or if you want to wait till September, if that's okay, you will get it no matter what. But there's, we can make sure that there's not more in depth that you're looking for as a board that you'd like. But the bottom line is we do we call a staffing report every year. And we can definitely get that to you immediately just for your review.
Yeah, and I've been asking the district about that, particularly Lori, who is awesome, and have gotten a lot of that information from them. It's also online. If you go to like the main webpage and then go to demographics, it actually has a lot of really great charts, not only of our students, but some of the information around our employees as well, which I found really helpful. So I agree that, I guess my thinking is, definitely want to have a further discussion at a workshop and then be able to have the discussion at a later date in a meeting as we kind of figure out what the strategy is. But definitely, like Ken said, think that the data is definitely there and it's powerful.
I also think that there are strategies we should look, at what we're doing to kind of build our own, right? Who are the David Douglas students that are college bound? Are there opportunities for us to do near peer mentorships for students from the community who want to be educators, so that there's a pipeline that we're creating? So I think there's a lot of strategies that we can look at.
And I've actually asked about that before, about talking to our students, even down in elementary and middle school levels, to get them interested in all types of public service positions or jobs, because not just in education, but in safety and fire department and all this other stuff, our community's not seeing people that look like them. And so how do we get all of our kids interested in that? The problem with public safety in particular is they have to be 21, so we lose them for a period of time. But it really would be better for our community to have not only the I don't know,
public servants
to help with public servants, but to kind of give them that idea when they're younger that they want to do this. They want to go be a teacher, or they want to be a fireman, or they want to be whatever in the community. I think it would be really helpful. So we have to get them really early, I think. I think high school's too late.
Just so you know, the city's public safety strikes me because they do have some programs. The problem is, and they want diversity, but they haven't come out to Douglas to do that education and recruitment. So sitting on the citywide budget committee, I keep hammering at them. You want diversity, you want to talk to students and start getting them interested, come out to David Douglas if you want diversity. They keep it to North Portland or whatever in the PPS. So we're slowly getting there to make them realize we belong in the city also. And they should utilize our school as well, but I'll keep pushing on it.
So coincidence, I had a meeting today with Dr. Lynn, the new Dean of Education for PSU. And what you just brought up around that transition piece was what I brought to him, and we had a discussion about. And anyway, we need to, and will have to do better. There's no doubt about it. We've done little things one-off. The problem is, do we have data that shows that help? For example, we produced a video around recruiting teachers and how the profession, what it is, for middle schools that we showed to middle schoolers with our own staff and our own. We were part of Teach Oregon Grant under Kelly's leadership, and with that grant funds, there's different opportunities where really the recruitment and retention of our own, of our students, of our community, that's where it starts. And then the idea of breaking barriers, right? Breaking down the barriers of that next step. So.
Right. And I'm happy to work with the David Douglas Education Foundation and the district to help find funds for that.
She's a go-getter when it comes
I am a grant writer, and this is a fundable project.
So Ken, when you had that discussion with the dean, is there any movement towards PSU moving towards just a four-year bachelor's degree teaching program and not making people go extra? I know we love highly qualified teachers, it's awesome, but to have people take more student loans out for an extra year to get a teaching certification, I have a problem with that. I think that's a really bad model.
So we did not discuss that specifically. I can definitely make sure that's on my radar to discuss. My understanding, though, statewide, that conversation exists. That conversation is at the table with TSPC and with the accreditation of our universities. There are some universities that are still 4-year. But what we did talk about, we talked about the difference about highly qualified versus highly effective.
Yep.
And kind of when you think about those barriers, there are many that are highly qualified that might not be effective. And we'd rather have highly effective working with our kids. So how do you break down the barriers that maybe the qualifications don't quite look, but if they're effective with kids, and they, there's got to be a way to make that work. We have teachers in our community from other areas in our world that are teachers that are not allowed to teach in our community because of TSPC and standards. So how do you break those barriers down, right? So we did have that very cursory. I mean, he and I are not going to fix the problems, but it was a great conversation. He's a very educated man and has a passion for our community.
Yeah, I just, I mean, you have kids in college, I have kids in college. It's not cheap. And I don't want my kid graduating from college with $100,000 in student loans. And one way to do that is they came out of David Douglas with 45 credits from AP and Mount Hood classes for free, and go to state school. That's all helpful, but then he's got to finish in the 4 years, and that's it. To make people go, especially people in our community that are, we know we're 80% free and reduced lunch. This is not the rich side of town. To make them pay for another year of college, I think it's just ridiculous. Okay. That's all I have to say about that. Okay.
You can tell she's paying college fees
about
right
that.
now.
Righteous anger. And I'd like to connect the dots sort of between this discussion. The reason it's important to prioritize hiring teachers of color is ultimately for the well-being of our students. It is important for them to see their faces reflected. It's important for them to have someone who has the shared cultural background to deliver that sense of well-being and safety for the students. I also think that, preceding my tenure on this board, I did witness that there were some harm caused and some perhaps damage to the sense of safety of students of color based on the remarks that occurred in previous board meetings. And I do think, based on hearing a series of testimonies and public comment tonight, that it's worth revisiting the idea of how do we repair that relationship. Is it worthwhile to go on record and talk openly about what we're doing as a district to create that sense of safety and security and well-being. So I would like to see on a future agenda a revisitation of that discussion.
Does anybody else have any other business or future agenda items? No? Yeah?
Real brief. I apologize, and it's not even really a future agenda item. It's just communication. And under Derek's leadership, we are in the process of investing in a new system. These have been failing us lately. I don't know if you noticed, even tonight we played with them a bit. They're getting aged, they're obsolete, there's not much we can do, and Derek and actually Josh has been helping us. We'll be updating in the near future so we have a little more reliability. So that's just a side note.
You're just following city council. They had to do the same
Oh,
thing.
did they really?
Well, these look like they're from the 1980s.
Are the new ones going to have karaoke buttons?
Right. If things get tense.
Yes.
Watch what you ask for.
So I would like to thank you for having this broadcast on Facebook Live. I think that we can do a lot more as a board, being more transparent in our meetings, and also with the materials being available before the board meetings. I know, as somebody who came a couple times to testify on an issue, I didn't have the materials about which the testimony was supposed to be presented. So I'm not putting a motion out there, but I'd like for us to talk about, not things that are in executive session, but the things that the board members get, how much of that could be public so that people who want to participate in democracy can do so in an informed way, where they see exactly what is going to be discussed and aren't making assumptions about what the agenda is going to be, but what the actual language is. I think it would help in transparency and communications with the community we represent.
All right. On to board member reports.
I'll go.
Go.
Just so you know, each time we do, if board members have done something else, as Ken was talking about the legislative sessions, I wanted to bring up just a couple of things that did occur. that are relevant to our community. Number one, House Bill 2004 did not go through the Senate. It wasn't voted on, and mainly because our Senator Rod Monroe chose to fight behind the scenes to keep it from going through. I know that Community Alliance and tenants are not letting it just lie there. Tina Kotek and Alyssa Kenny-Geyer plan to bring it back up next year. It was sad that we couldn't get what we needed to help our people get stabilized and whatnot. But there was some good news in the transportation bill. As I mentioned, the low-income fares is going to be implemented, and that'll help our community tremendously. But the one thing that East Portland Action Plan's been working on for 5 years is getting the funding to fix Powell, which is one of our most dangerous streets. And they are fully funded. It's written in the bill, so they have to fix it. And so it's going to be all the way out to the city line. So it's not just a little portion before, it's going to be the complete piece that runs through Douglas. So it really affects Douglas. So I thought that was great that piece got in there. I'm working on the stakeholders advisory group for the housing bond, and I've got it in there right now that we're going to be discussing locality. It's going to be on some of the criteria on July 31st at 6 o'clock at PCC on 82nd. And I've been able to get them to realize that if large new projects of affordable housing can put a burden on schools, and they hate to say the word burden, but it's extra cost, if you want to say it, because we have to provide extra services. It's just a reality. So I've gotten in there that when they're placing, they won't put more than one in each elementary school, so that they don't overtax an elementary school with free and reduced lunch jumping to 90% or whatever. So that I'm hoping that stays within the criteria to help out. And to me, it doesn't matter, Douglas, Park Rose, PPS, it affects elementary schools, period. So got that. And then on some other good news, David Douglas Foundation, we have a retired administrator, Richard Cole, who worked in our district for 9 years. He worked in PPS most of his career, but 9 years in Douglas, but he always felt this was his family. He worked with the Shuta Sister City program for over 15 years. He passed away this last year. That's the bad news. The positive news is he's left the foundation in his will. Prior to his death, we met with him and his wife to set up a new program with the foundation to help kids. He didn't want to do scholarships. What he wants to do is funding for activities, camps, things that will keep kids in school. So the focus is K through 8th grade more. And he started out that fund with $13,000 prior to his death, but we were just notified that we'll be receiving approximately $51,000 to endow that. So we'll have about $62,000 endowed that interest and earnings every year can go toward paying. Barb Kingley's office is going to be handling it, and they've already given out their first paid for a camp for a student already at the end of the year. So that was kind of exciting that we did find out, and it was quite a large chunk. So that's it for right now.
You got anything?
Sure, I just got a couple of quick things. So kind of following this housing trend, I just wanted to, it reminded me that I think it's just worth noting that, as our city continues to face a housing crisis, and particularly I've been reminded tonight that a lot of our students and families are at risk and currently being displaced. The city council just recently passed a couple of technical fixes to the mandatory relocation assistance policy, and we'll be reviewing a long-term policy. The current one is set to expire on October 6th. And so as I'm sure we all are having conversations with students and families about potential significant rent hikes or no-cause evictions. Those are some of the criteria that qualify someone to receive mandatory relocation assistance. I do think that it's worth keeping in mind that that is available as a potential resource, and that again, the council is looking at a long-term tool, given that 2004 and others were not successful at the state. And then also I'll just say, formally welcome to our new board members. I felt like this board meeting was exciting, and I'm really looking forward to the work that we have ahead of us. So thank you both for your willingness to serve with us.
Bryce, did you have anything?
Well, I don't know if I need this or not, but I also would like to welcome Anna and Stephanie. It is refreshing to get new board members, and I can see you're already engaged, and I'd like to just offer my willingness to work with both of you, and thank you for your willingness to serve the community of David Douglas. That's all I have.
Okay. I would also like to welcome our new board members, and I would like to say that finally the north side of the district rules.
Yeah, we do.
Many times, much of the board comes from the south side of the district.
Menlo Park.
And now we're all, 4 of us are on the north side, so awesome.
No, 5 of us are on the.
Well, yeah, but
You're in the middle,
kind of
Frida.
In the middle.
No, you're in the.
There we go.
Okay. We won't quibble. So
I have to tell you, at one time I was the only
one that wasn't on the south side. Okay, so the only thing I don't have a ton, but I wanted to make sure everybody was aware, because I'm super excited that this is finally happening really on our side of town, which means east of 205, because we do exist out here and we are part of the city. We're going to have our own Sunday Parkway on August 20th, and I am so excited because it is totally, it's up through our district and Park Rose, and oh my God, finally. How long have they been doing this? So I'm super excited about it. It's going to be right over by my house even. They're going to close 128th, and I live on 127th, and well, that's going to be fun. But
that's part of it.
But so exciting to finally not have to go into inner Portland to have a Sunday Parkway. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also excited. They're going to start doing more work on the Halsey-Weidler couplet. That construction is going to start. They have already started and been under construction, the new little park there with the affordable housing complex. That's at, 107th and Halsey-ish? Yeah. I drive that way every day.
Where the new park is?
By the
Yeah,
park.
the new park, and they're putting in the mixed affordable housing.
It's going to be mixed income.
Yeah, mixed income.
And retail.
So, super excited about that. I love things on the north side of the district. What can I say? It's not Park Rose. So, that you don't have to put that in the NMS, but a little David Douglas pride, and don't tell your mom. And I guess that's it, unless anybody else has anything.
I'll
I'd like
ask
to
for
report that I'm
30
happy to be here.
Yeah, I'll ask for 30 seconds. It's late, and I know, but again, welcome, obviously, and I've had the opportunity to welcome both of our new board, but I just want to extend a thank you to our entire board. Volunteerism, service, impacting, improving our community, sharing our community, and doing it for kids, ultimately. Just thank each and every one of you. I want to thank you for my evaluation. I probably should have said it right afterwards, but I truly consider it an honor, a privilege. I believe in service leadership. And the last thing I'll say is this cabinet, best in the state. And I'm not just saying that. Ask. They're amazing. And to our new board members, we have to go through superintendent or call them, leverage them, ask Lori. Don't hesitate. They'll be there for you to serve as well. And, we are about learning and growing. So thank you so much.
All right. Adjourned.